This segment, though, let's do this segment on how do I follow up with power? How do I get the buyer and the client back to that point where I had them after the first call where they were excited? How do I do that intentionally? And it's something that most people never ever think about. And so one of the things that you need to be careful of is that A, you're not randomly going for your follow-ups. You want a syntax or a recipe. That's what we're going to cover. So the first thing that you want to do is, number one, you only want to use a follow-up as a last resort. That's number one. What does that mean? It means I am going to build my skill set so that I get 95% of everybody to yes on this call. I will work, I will do flashcards, I will do whatever I need so that I can go ahead and make sure that I am at my peak and that I am on that call. I do everything in my arsenal to make sure that I am getting that person to yes now. That's step one. Step two, there will be times, conditions, or things that might require a follow-up. Now, in Priya's case, you took a deposit. You still want to go back to the deposit as a follow-up. So they took $1,000. And I think it was somebody else on an earlier call, they took some deposits. Maybe it was you, Kimberly. One said yes, and they did it. The other one started getting buyer's remorse. So I want to recognize that's it. So when I do a follow-up, step two is to go ahead and the same thing. They are going to come up. They did the deposit. They had to move money around on their credit card. They had to call the bank and get them to up the limit because it was an abnormal charge. Their partner is not there, and they snuck that in at the very end. They gave you a deposit, but they want you to go back through. Or you're halfway through and find out that their husband is their partner, and he's not on the call, and he's part of the decision, so you stop the call. Anything like that, you're going to need a follow-up call. You're going to stop the call in that moment. You're going to frame it in a way that says, well, it's not fair to your husband to have him make a decision on something. Is he available now so we can include him in the call? I want to get them on that first call if possible, and I've done it where they go, yeah, he's right here. I say, great, can he jump on the call with us? If he can, that's best. And now I start weaving him back. But I have to go back and reconnect. I write his name on my sheet, Kimberly and Daniel, and I have to build connection and trust with him. Daniel, I'm excited to get to include you in the call. And I go through that and I say, Kimberly said that you're part of the decision-making process and want to make sure that we include you in it because you matter to Kimberly. And I move through that. And now I'm going to go through this process and I get him engaged. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to recap. Now, so far, we really haven't got too far in, but Kimberly was mentioning that the big challenge she said in her business was this. What do you think is the big problem that you're facing in your business right now? And I do an abbreviated part to get him up to speed. Does that make sense? So, but if I have to go back and I'm going to do a follow-up call, I schedule it. I ask them, put it in your calendar in your phone. Is it in there? Have them do it while you're on the phone. So I make sure it's scheduled. Do you give yourself reminders? And I make a joke. I say, I usually need 3 reminders or I forget. How about you? Okay, put it in your phone now. How do you want to connect? Are we going to do Skype? Okay, great. And I make sure it's scheduled. Step 3 is then in between then and now. I want to nurture that follow-up. What does that mean? That means I'm going to send them a reminder email. Kimberly and Daniel, it was so great connecting with you. I can't wait until we reconnect. Here's a video that made me think of you. Here's an article that I thought you would enjoy. I'm looking forward, and I put in the time, I'm looking forward to reconnecting on June 20th at 5 a.m. on Skype. And then I give them an item of value. And then in a week, if it's a longer one, I give them another one. I nurture and develop that follow-up. So it's not like out of the blue, I don't talk to you for 3 months and I show up. So if I find something that's rise and grit, or, don't quit, or it's an ebook or something that I think is relevant that will add value, I just send it. Hey, Kimberly, I know we're scheduled to talk on June 20th at 5 p.m., but I saw this and it just totally reminded me of you and Daniel and what we were talking about. I hope you enjoy it. And now what happens is, by the time I'm between our follow-up, I've got 1, 2, 10 rep connections to them. So when I call them at Skype and I remind them the day before, and I might even send them a text, hey, I'm wrapping up a call, I'll jump on with you at 20 minutes or whatever on our time. So I do those things to make it easy for them to transition. Now, when I get back on the call, does anybody have any questions on up to now? Guys, do you have any questions at all? If you have a sales rep, okay.
I don't know why I'm typing. I'm just taking off mute. Yeah. So if you've got, say you eventually have a team and what have you, or is it the sales rep that's doing the follow-up, right? So they're doing little emails and everything. Okay, perfect.
Yep. And so they're going to do this. And so I have to jump off. Okay, got it. Client is waiting. Awesome. Go rock it, Veronica. So yes, they're going to be the one. They're going to work till their skill set is getting 90, 95% on call one. Number two, they're going to go ahead and schedule it. They're going to do everything they can, but they're going to schedule it, make sure that all parties are there. Third is they're going to nurture and develop it. And then when they get on fourth, they're going to be the one too. And they're going to want to go ahead. They need to recap and re-engage. What does that mean? They need to recap, and they need to realize that in order for a buyer to buy, he needs to be in a buying mindset. He needs to be at a peak elevated state where he knows he has a problem and he's ready to solve it. So I need to get him back there. I need to re-engage him. I need to recap what happened. So when I get back on the call, if I did it right, I would still have my sheet. Why? Because I keep them. And across the board, I would put a Post-it note on my flyer with the recap number, and it would say Kimberly and Daniel. And now I look at it and I see, I'm looking at my notes. I've got Kimberly, Daniel, and it says Visa 5K. Yep, I'm in it. Let's do it. Her keywords are awesome. She's an auditory. She moves away or towards her goal. She's only earning 5K. That's gross, which is gross. She's only netting 1,500. She has no pipeline. Her goal is to make 50K a month. She's tried 3 programs. She's invested 8K with no result. And I remind myself, now when I get on the call, I'm going to send that text reminder, which is again, get them going where they're on there. Then when I recap and re-engage, I get them on the call and I say, awesome, Kimberly and Daniel, I'm excited to get to go through this. And if it's a deposit or it's one where they're in, they just need to go, let me recap briefly just to make sure we're still talking about the same thing. That's the recap. And that's the frame. So I'm saying when I get on the call, let me go ahead and recap. It's been a while since we talked. I just want to make sure we're still talking about the same thing. So Kimberly and Daniel, the last time we spoke, we were on the call because you realized that you were only grossing 5K a month on a good month. You were only netting about 1,400, but your real goal was to make 50,000 a month. You realized you had no pipeline. You tried a couple of cheap programs that didn't deliver. You realized you needed a massive accountability. You needed a proven system working today. And you realized after talking to the two of you that 50K was your dream number. You know that gets Daniel his Softail Harley. That allows you guys to fly first class to Paris and first class through life. You guys were open to changing now. and getting back to that first class lifestyle. You really know that at 600,000 a year, that your dreams can become true. And that the only thing stopping you was not knowing how to do a pipeline, was not knowing how to take your knowledge and now taking it to the world through the internet and social media. And that's why we were having the conversation for help. Did I get it right, or has anything changed? But even Kimberly, did it feel like I was able to get you back on point for what we were talking about earlier today?
Yes, I think that helps.
Yeah.
To be able to keep that interaction. And now the people, just real quick, the ones that I had that freaked out, one freaked out from not even in 24 hours.
Yes. Well, that's different.
Okay, so that's a sales call issue, right?
That is correct. That's actually in the button down phase, the final phase. And the button down phase is really where you want to address that. This is simply for a follow-up.
Okay.
This is for a follow-up where you talk to somebody, they gave a deposit, and you want to get the rest of the deposit so they can start. Or you just got started and find out it's a team and only half is there. Or you find out you're half of the way through and their client walked in and you need to recap and get started again. Anything that did not allow you to get them started and you're following up, you need to get them back into a buying mindset. You need to bring them back to this moment. And a lot of times their urge is going to be yeah, we just didn't get to the price. What's the price? Do not accept that bait. You cannot just go right back into the price. They're not in a buying mindset. I have to get them back into a buying mindset. I need to remember and I need to get them doing. And if I did it right and I took notes, I would have all of your subliminal tells. I would know that you want to be awesome. You want $50,000 a month or $600,000 a year. That you want to go to Paris in the fall. And I would remember that and I'd bring it back, and it's almost like a hypnotic trigger. You know, somebody that's been effectively hypnotized, you could go out there and saying, you know, and the chicken is flying like a turkey. And instantly they will start going back to that conditioning. And so that's part of what we're doing is we are rapidly interrupting where they are, changing their focus, and then putting them into this new state again, in this new mindset. So that's how I go ahead and re-engage somebody quickly. So let's wrap up on this and we'll wrap up this segment. Does anybody have any questions on how to re-engage a follow-up and get them re-engaged so that I can increase my deposits into full enrollments, how I can increase the follow-up so they're more successful than you can? Any questions? It's a simple 4-step process. Number one is I commit to 95% of the time working to get them on the call. I really work to do everything I can. If their husband's part of the program, I ask, is he available? When can we both be on the call so that way we take advantage of all of our time? I work on doing what I can. I work on getting my skill set. So when I get the objection, I handle it now. Number two is then I make sure it's scheduled. I want to make sure that that follow-up is scheduled, that you have it. I remind them about the alerts. Do you need to do it? I need 3. How about you? And I do all that stuff so it's scheduled. You might even put a note what it's going to be about, because in 3 weeks you will forget. Number 3, nurture it. I want to tap her and touch her at least once a week, minimum. If it's a quick turnaround, I might hit her twice in the day. If I'm going to talk to her tomorrow at 24 hours, I might send an email saying how great it was and just, I'm looking forward to talking tomorrow at this time. At this time, here's the link. Tomorrow, I might send her a video or an email or something that I thought would be, oh, I thought of you. This just reminded me. I know we're talking tonight at 5, but I just wanted to send you this in the meantime. And then 5, 10 minutes beforehand, 20 minutes beforehand, 15, whatever, I will text her. Hey, I'm wrapping up with the call. I'm looking forward to chatting at 5. And then at 5, I call her. And then I jump on the phone and we do it. And will that work every time? No, but it will certainly improve your percentages. And that's how I move through it. So that, and then lastly, I recap and I re-engage. I do not take the bait. I do not go and start talking about price right away. I don't talk about, hey, are you ready to get started? I don't say, okay, you said you were going to start today. Are you ready to start? She'll push it off. So I re-engage. I explain why we were having the call to begin with, the problem she was facing, the money she wants to earn or the health she wants to have, and then I move to that, and then I go ahead and move. Great. Is that still what we're talking about, or have things changed? And then I go into wherever I need to go. Excellent. Fantastic. So now we had talked before that you were going to get the credit card and going, which card were we talking about? Is this the Visa or the MasterCard? Okay, great. Well, let's rock. Oh, well, I had a question about that. Okay, good. And now I can start moving into that process. But that's how you re-engage somebody on a follow-up or get them going to increase your chances so that you're effective when you get them back on the phone. Pricing objection is one of the top 3. What that means is it depends on where it shows up. If it shows up after I've given the money, it is usually an excuse, or it means that you did not adequately open up the pain of the problem. Now, go through the training in there on 30,000 foot, I believe, to the 30,000 foot view to the mirror. In essence, there is always a consequence. I don't care if you teach sex therapy. I don't care if you teach relationships. I don't care if you teach business improvement. There is a price to not fix it. That needs to be the focus of your Uncover the Problem. There are 3 depths of pain: past pain, present, and future pain. They usually will hunker down into one of the 3. So what you want to be doing is, how much has it already cost you? How much great sex have you already missed? How many how many soulmates have you passed on and missed because you weren't right? How many magical moments did you miss with your kids because you didn't figure out how to be the man you're supposed to be? How much money have you already left on the table? Those are all past pains. How many vacations did you not take? In my case, I never got to take my mom back to Norway. I kept meaning to do it, canceled it, boom, grandma died, mom died. Still wanted to go. I got busy, mom got busy, bullshit, excuses. My dad died before I could take him to Alaska, go fly fishing. I hate killing things. It was important to Dad. Could have done it, didn't make enough money. I can never get that option again. I'm looking for those kind of pain points. So then I want to do that present pain. Sometimes back pain, it's right now. They're in immediate pain. 3 is going to be future pain. If you don't fix it now, how the hell are you going to pay for college tomorrow? If you don't pay for college for your kids and they end up going the waiter route, they go there and it costs them a decade or 2 decades to do it the slow way, what's that going to cost your kids? Is that what you were hoping for? Is your fear bigger than that? I'm looking for what it could be future pain. And I got to get it so that they see the pain is 10 times to 100 times worse than the price of the program. So when you're doing that, I'm looking for one of those 3 areas of pain. We might not get it on the first one. It might be the second one. It might be the third one. It might be a little of all of them. But trust me when I tell you, by the time we're done with Uncover the Problem, I will hit my outcomes. I will hit those outcomes where I know the real problem inside and out. I am the surgeon. That's my job. I know what tests I need to do. I know what screens or EKGs, MRIs. I know what I need to know to make the proper diagnosis. That's your job. Their job is to decide, is that pain real and are they committed to fixing it? Do they have faith that you are 1,000% committed and you're the right one to fix it? Because most people are trying to do this, trying to get people to quit smoking, but it's not a real pain right now. That's why most people still smoke. You interview 100 smokers, most of them know it's bad for you. Most of them know it's costing them years on their life. But right now in the immediate, it's more pleasure than it is pain. We have to go ahead and start embedding and opening up. Are you willing to miss your daughter's wedding? What would that be like for have your wife's future husband walk your daughter down the aisle? I need to make it real. And I need to figure it out. I'm the expert. Somebody's 300 pounds. This is a big freaking problem. I don't care what he says. He is a walking heart attack. I will open that up. And I'm going to keep going through that until it's real, until they see the pain. Now, even when I do this perfectly, guys, they still might hunker down into the pain and want to stay there. My job is to do the best I can and open up the truth as much as I can. But it is not my job to convince that person. I will use every objection handling. I will use everything in my arsenal to move them past fear. But it's the client's decision. Because if they get in the program and they felt bullied, they will never get the outcome anyway. You're going to have a cancellation on your hands anyway. So the key to the price objection is up in the uncover problem. If you're getting smokescreen answers, it means one of two things. Either your questions are not intelligent or powerful. Number two, you don't have rapport. They are massively guarded. I could use Come to Jesus to open them up. Come to Jesus might sound like, I'm asking these questions. So what's the worst part? I don't know. How long has this been going on? I'm not really sure. Who else is, I don't know. Where else is this show? I'm not sure. this. If they're giving you the dodge up there, I might need to throw Come to Jesus right on their lap. I might have to say, Cole, I have to ask you. I was very clear. My job today is not to sell you. My job is to get to the truth, to find out where you are in your life and where you want to go. And if we can help you, we will show you how. If not, we will steer you to whatever serves you. And to be honest, I cannot do that with yes and no answers. My goal today is I will speak to 5 to 10 people. My team will speak to 20, whatever. My goal is to serve all 5. And I know that 1 out of 5 is going to be committed and want to solve it. I will serve all 5, but there's only 1 that's going to qualify to be in the program. So are you willing to be open to see if we can help solve that and give you some insights? And if they say no, great. I appreciate your time. You have a blessed day. It is not your job to beg them, but also don't sugarcoat past it if you know you're getting smokes blown up your skirt. Have an authentic, honest conversation. That's part of what Dr. Claiborne was talking about. Be bold in the truth. You are the expert. You do not want to go to a surgeon who's going to let you blow smoke up his skirt, or go to the number one defense attorney and lie to him. Get back to me on how good that works. The experts don't tolerate bullshit. They don't have time for it, nor should you. So the price objection is a value concern. And follow the same sequence. Isolate the objection. Other than that's too much money. You didn't think it was going to be that much. Is there any, I can appreciate that, meaning I heard that. I don't agree with it, but I hear you. Other than that, is that the only reason you're hesitating to move into your dream right now? Yes, Mark, that's it. I can appreciate how you feel. Others have felt the same way. Here's what we found to be true. And I reiterate back to him his own fears and beliefs. If he said most programs suck, I will start with what we have found to be true is most programs do suck. because they're teaching stuff they're not doing, because they offer no support, because they don't offer Q&As, because they're concentrated on selling versus serving. Do you see how different our program is? Because we only work with 1 out of 5. We've done that. Do you see how this is totally different than therapy? And I get them. Our approach is transformational. Our approach is to get it done now. With the right leverage, you don't need to drag it out for 5 years of therapy. You can do it in 8 weeks or less. Our program is designed to give you the result now. And we stack about 20 different strategies to get you the outcome, because that's why people hire us. Does that make sense? Do you see how this is different than what their fear was? Great. So which option works best? How can we support you? You want to do the split pay or the pay in full? Half will say yes. Half will say, yeah, but. That's exactly why. Lori, you've already spent over $15,000 on therapy, but you still don't have the result, do you? If you keep going that route, if you keep doing the insurance route, that's already proven it's not working. How long do you want to keep pissing money down the rabbit hole? Aren't you open to a new approach which is working for people? My client base is just, that's a norm. Everybody's done therapy before they get to me. That's why it works. They already know what doesn't work, so they're open to something that does. I don't care what we call it. I care about the outcome. That's really what you want, isn't it? Great. Okay, great. So which option works best? Do you want to do the split pay or the pay in full? Half will say yes, and half will say no. They'll come up with another excuse, but. Great. Lori, Daryl, can I be honest? And then I'm going to say whatever's on my heart. You sound like an amazing guy, and you are not living your dream right now at all. You know it, and I know it. You are right now, you have been struggling, and the worst, you are in a living hell. Every day you are watching other people with less ability live the dream that you know is on your heart. They are serving people you are meant to serve, and they're doing a shitty job. But you keep coming up with excuses for the last 5 years. Don't have enough money. It's too expensive. When are you going to own the fact that if you don't step up, you never will? How long are you willing to live in that daily hell knowing you are not living your dream? And I'm going to just say whatever's the truth. And most of the time that will get them in. And then if it doesn't, I go, let's keep it in context. Daryl, you have already spent $13,000, $15,000 on therapy and you don't have the outcome. If you quit now, you've wasted all $13,000. You need to step up. We're talking about 2 months worth of counseling. Just redirect that into something that's proven to work. And you go from there. So you just got to get back to, in Lori's case, what is the price of having pathetic, boring, obligatory sex every now and then for the rest of your life? You've already proven this won't solve itself. Have you already forgotten what it was like to have time-stopping, sheet-clenching, mind-blowing, you don't know who the hell you are sex? Connecting with somebody else that is so powerful that the power carries you for a week. That you walk into the boardroom like a frickin' goddess and no one knows why. But you operated at a level of power that other women were envious of. You frickin' radiated. Every guy wanted you and you were on another level. Did you already forget? If that's expensive, you're not the candidate that we work with. Does that make sense? It doesn't make you wrong. But here's the truth. Lori, the ones that I work with, they remember that power. They just want a roadmap to get back. They know what it's like when they connect with somebody and they can trust and connect at that level. Time stands still. They tap a piece of power that only 1/10 have ever experienced. That's the ones I work with because you can't dabble your way there. When I move into that level of conviction and that level of power, we never get that's expensive, ever. There isn't one of you on here that I can't look at your program and see, oh my God, holy shit, you guys are undercharging. And guys, always, 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 price objection starts with you. Write a belief. If your program is $5,000, we have to do this with our Millionaire Alliance every time. You look at Elena, she was struggling at under $1,000. She joined the program. She finally bumped it up to $1,500. Oh my God, that's too much. No one will pay it. They will it when you own it. We got her to $1,500. We told her it was still too little. Then we got her to $2,500, then $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. It isn't so you're screwing the client. It's so that the client gets the better result. Not enough skin in the game, they're dabbling. I would rather somebody struggle, pay 10 grand to get my program, than a rich guy to drop it and see if he's going to do it. I love it when somebody is freaking out because they crossed the bridge of fear, that they had to struggle, sell something. Those are the ones committed. That's who I want to share my gift with. I don't feel sorry for them. I'm freaking proud as shit of them. And I own my space on this. So like I said with your belief table, why is your value and your price a freaking bargain? You need to have 50 legs under that belief that you know this is a bargain, that the price of divorce is average $85,000. Even doing it yourself is 8 to 10 grand. What are the percentage chances your kids end up in rehab and they end up in divorce? Because that's the example you set. And I stack 50 or more reasons under my belief table why 10 grand is the best bargain on the freaking planet. Because I know if they go to the other competitors, the copycats, they're not going to get mindset training. They're not going to get service. They're going to get guys celebrating their commission checks. I know that a copycat can never deliver like the original. The fact that they're copycatting said, I don't believe in myself, so I'm going to rip off someone else, make money on it, and no one will know. And if money is your God, knock yourself out. The people that come into our program realize the real money comes when you become the expert you're meant to be and you share your gift at the level that only you can share it. Content is content. What's the difference maker is you. But you got to own that price first. Times 100. So each of you guys want to own that. As Bree said, you got to write it, do the work in that. Yes, it makes a frickin' difference. So that's the key to the price objection. And each time you close the loop and go back. You can also listen to the spouse objection because the sequence. I don't address it as a glob. I separate it first. Do you believe? I say, I can appreciate that. So as I do that, I take that. If you take your hands, clap them together and keep them attached. Right now, there are 10 fingers, but you can only see one. It's expensive. I need to first separate the two. Do they believe your program will work for them? Do they believe they need to solve it? So I will ask them. I will say, Dr. Tracy, first off, let's say, for example, for a minute, that you were invited into the program for free right now. Do you believe this will solve the problem? Yes or no? Do you believe you would show up and give 100% so we could solve it? Yes. Okay, so it's not whether it works or not. You said that you feel it's too much money. Why specifically do you feel it's too much? Is it because, what is it? She might say, well, someone else will charge less. I need to know her belief around why she thinks it's expensive. Is it because you don't have the money? Or is it because of something else? And if it's that, then I can get on the same side of the table and help her. I can appreciate that. Other than you don't have it available right now. Is that the only thing stopping you from moving forward and claiming the solution right now? Great. Do you mind if I get on the same side of the table? Because that's pretty common. Let me show you how most people get into the program. Can I do that? And I go through the 7 different ways to find the money. First comes the decision, then comes the money. You got to separate it that way. Then I get the decision, yes, I'm committed, I just have to find the money. Okay, got it. That's different than saying it's too expensive. You got to separate it. Then I'm going to move into, here's what most people do. Most people put it on several credit cards. Which cards do you have? None. Okay, got it. I take away shame, just like the restaurant if your card declines on a first date. So I go, that's okay, that's pretty normal. So the other thing you can do, the second way, is you can go ahead and actually call your existing cards and get extensions. Do you have credit cards right now? Which ones? Okay, great. Go ahead and call them and get an extension. It only takes about 3 minutes. Some will, some won't. That's okay. Here's what other people do. Did you realize the average person has between $10,000 and $30,000 worth of crap, extra hobby stuff, gifts that are laying around the house they no longer need? What do you have that you could sell on Craigslist or eBay right now? And we go through that. And then if that doesn't work, that's okay. Here's what else. Who owes you money? That's okay. Here's what else. And then I might go into, can you work extra shifts? Can you do, can you go get 5 new private coaching clients? What can you do? And you go from there. And so then when you go through those, somewhere along there, they usually do one of two things. Wow, thank you, thank you, thank you. And they're committed. You don't solve it. Sometimes they go, wow, you know what? I just remembered. I've got a credit card and I never activated it. I wonder if it'll work. I've had other people say, I had my boyfriend's motorcycle. He never paid rent, so I'm going to sell that. And then they come up with a card they didn't tell you about. And I don't point it out that they forgot. I lost a deal that way once because I pointed it out. I said, oh, so were you lying to me? They got pissed. It's a stupid thing for me to say. And I do that and I keep moving forward. And if it doesn't work, I say, well, at least we now know what you need to do. Stick to it. Get resourceful. Show your grit and commitment. Send me an email once a week and check in. And let's make this happen. And then you move forward. And that's how we handle that. So let's look at one of the top 3, the big 3 of objections, which is the spousal objection, the partner objection, and it comes across at the end, which is like, hey, this sounds great. I just need to run it by my spouse. And so today we're going to talk about what that really is, why that shows up, and lastly, how to handle it and how to deal with it effectively. So let's first talk about what is it. It's an objection. It is a buyer defense response, meaning it's a way that a buyer can use to get out of making a decision right now. Why do they use it? Flat out, it works. And what happens, it allows you, and most salespeople, most people on the phone, most people that work in that field don't have good answers to it. And they are using answers that don't make sense, so the person is still able to do it. Then the buyer can use that, and if the salesperson pushes, then they push back, and the next thing you know, it's like uncomfortable, and now the person walks out and says, I'm not going to buy because you pressured me. So in that case, the buyer believes they have all of the power and all of the positioning. So where we want to go is, what is it? It is simply a buyer defense response. It can be a condition, and I'll explain the difference. Then, why are they doing it? Simply because it works. Because of all of the used car sales approaches, all of the high pressure sales for the last 30, 40, 50 years, buyers have evolved. They have created new defense mechanisms that stifle that bullshit. The salespeople for decades have not cared about them. The salespeople want what? They want a commission and a check. It's not about the client. It's about their commission. It's about their bragging rights. It's about them getting to wear the moniker of I'm an alpha male closer. And so they show up and buyers are going, okay, game on. I'm going to create buyer defenses that you can't handle. And so the buyer plays their game, the salesperson plays their game, and everybody walks away muddy, pissed off, and no engagement happened. So what happens with that is then we have to look at how. How is this going to show up? Now, if you are in a business, and I can't remember if it was Susan or somebody, but a few of you have a business which is relationships. If your business really needs them to have husband and wife, man and whatever, you need both partners on the call, then you're going to need to be weaving it in your webinar, your application, even in your qualifier at the beginning of the call. If you are in relationships, but your emphasis is on getting you right, where you are the one that needs to go ahead and be right, meaning you only can give away that what you have, the spouse doesn't necessarily have to be. The third aspect you want to consider is, even if they don't have to be, does it make sense for them to be there anyway? It might not. The same is true for health. If this is a health concern where as an expert you know that in reality, I as the owner of my company, I as the expert, I want husband and wife, or I want wife, I don't care. If you need partners there, then you get them there. If you don't, if it's not necessary, you don't need it, but you're still going to need to know how to handle it. So you set up the process so that you as the expert get what you need. How can you get to the truth? Then once that has been established, then what I am doing is you don't wait until the end to find out. One of the biggest mistakes people make on phone calls and sales, and why most people dread it, is they don't know how to uncover if it's going to be a problem up in the call at the beginning. So all of a sudden at the end, they've had this great call. Everybody's happy. You love them. They love you. They're ready. They told you how much your program will change their life. They've looked for this their whole life. Oh my God, I cannot thank you enough for this call. And then you go, let me just talk to my husband and I'll get back to you. Your heart sinks. You know you've been played, and now you will never get them on the phone again. If you're lucky, tomorrow, tonight, in a week, after you've been chasing them, you're no longer in the doctor frame, and now they send you a curt email that says you've decided not, it doesn't work, you're not interested. And that cycle has been repeated. So what are we really doing when we do it right? I'm listening for it. Up front, when I am up building rapport, when I look on their Facebook page, when I'm talking to them, is there another significant other in their pictures? Is there a significant other? Do they have a husband? Do they have a wife? Do they have a significant other? Do they have a business partner that is predominantly in their life? I want to look at that. So I want to look for that, and then I'm listening in my uncover the problem in my rapport. If they use words like, oh yeah, Susan, we do this all the time. You know, we just have been, we built this together, or stuff like that. Did you hear it? We built it together. We did it this way. When I hear that, I write it on my paper, and now I'm going to explore it. Maybe not right that split second, but I'm going to explore it. And when I get to the point where I let them finish their thought, we talk about it, we build it, and says, okay, thank you for that. That helps. Now let me explore something. Let me get a little clarity around that as well. Let's say, for example, that you love this program. You know this is going to change your world. This is exactly what you're looking for. It'll solve your problem. Is this your decision and your decision alone, or is there somebody else that would be involved in the decision-making process? Up here, before they feel like it's a sales call, you're going to find out exactly now if they go, oh yeah, I have a business partner. We do everything together. He couldn't make it. But just tell me and I'll tell him. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to take control of the call. And we're going to say, hey, with all due respect, Susan, it's not fair to your partner to try and translate what we're going to cover over the next hour. What we found works best. Let's reschedule when all the decision makers can come on. That way, if he has a question or she has a question, everybody can ask the questions they need so that we can make the best decision for you and your family or your business. So when would be a good time to get you on the phone with all three? And you do it. I didn't ask permission because I'm the expert. I'm the one that has the $1 million check. I'm the one that has the ultimate health body. And from a place of certainty, now what happens when I do that, my closing / enrollment of those people when I get them back on the phone is much higher, significantly higher. And the person who wasn't on the call is really appreciative that we got them on the call and included them. I've even had a husband and wife, one of our guys, I heard the call, he did this, he got the husband on, they got in a fight through the whole call, but because, and then the wife even said, he told me to get you on the call. And then the husband said, well, it doesn't matter, you're going to do whatever the hell you want anyway. And she goes, yeah, but I still want you on the call. So they argued, but at the end she enrolled and it worked. And so you guys want to think about it in terms of, are you listening for it up front? As they go through there, if this is happening a lot, meaning not one call it happened, but let's say you made 10 calls and 8 of them said, I love it, I just need to talk to my husband. Now I want to make sure I start asking for it, even if I don't see it. But if that's coming up a lot, meaning my ideal client always needs to talk to a significant other, then I'll ask them about it. But most of the time you don't, but I will listen for it and I'll test a little bit. Now, let's say they have a husband and a wife, whatever it is, a partner. It could be a father. It really doesn't matter. It's the ghost is what they're trying to talk about. So when I go through that, I'm going to go, Marla asked me to go ahead and go into that and ask about, again, how do I do that? If I know and I say, I ask the person, I say, you had mentioned we, and I said, let's say, for example, you absolutely love this. This is exactly what you've been praying for and needed to fix this problem, and you decided you wanted to move forward. Is this your decision, or is there a partner that needs to be involved in this conversation to help you make that decision? And I want them to own it. I want them to say, no, my health is my choice. I'm responsible for my health. It's my business. Yes, I love my partner, love them, but I make the decisions on this one. Okay, great. And I can move on. I'm still not done. Then what I do is once I get that out in the uncover the problem, I circle it on my page so I don't forget. Then when I get to size up the client, which is the next step, I will go ahead and I'd say, if it's a money business that I'm doing, how to flip properties or make money, invest, make more, whatever, I'm going to ask them, I'd say, so let's say we invite you in, Angela, and we show you exactly how to solve that specific problem. And I mentioned the problem they came to me for. And we solved that problem like crazy. I'd say, how much money would you need to be earning to have that freedom, to do that happy dance? What's that number? I don't give it to them. I ask them, what is that number? What is that level of health you would need to have where you know you're powerful again? And I get them to connect. And when I go through that, now I'm going to go through that place and I'm going to pull out of them, okay, great. You're going to now be able to run marathons. Okay, so I'm still going to write with the husband, the wife, the partner. It still affects them. If it's money, I'd say, great, you're going to travel. Where are you going to travel to? Who are you going to travel with? And I start to connect the solution to the partner, to the wife, the husband, the friend, whoever. So by doing that, you're going to find that as you do that, now all of a sudden the solution is including them. This will become important in a second. So where would you take your family? What's her dream? What's the one gift you'd love to give her or him that you could never afford? What's that gift? How would they look at you when you were able to pay off the house? And so I include them in it. If it's a business partner, how would your business partner be excited when you figured out how to get clients like crazy? How much more fun would you be having with your partner if you guys were able to triple your revenue? And go from there. And I move into that and I start linking those two. Now when I get to the end and they go, oh, this is outstanding. Oh my God, this is great. And if they try and do it, now just by following that process and getting them to identify that they're the decision maker, What happens now, that will eliminate 50 to 70% of that objection showing up. They've already told you it's their decision. They already said they're going to do this for their husband, their wife, their friend. So it's built into that. Now, it won't eliminate all of them, but it will weaken it. So for the 30 to 50% that show up, now when they say, I want to talk to my husband, my spouse, now it's a weakened version. And a weakened version will sound where I can go, hey, wait a minute. Okay, I can appreciate that. I don't say I agree. I say I can appreciate that. Let me ask, didn't you say that the decision was yours and yours entirely? Now, if I'm careful and write this down, I am not coming from judgment energy. I'm coming from curiosity, caring, and concern. Now, I'm going to move into that. I might go into feel, felt, found. I can appreciate how you feel. In fact, Sylvie, others have felt the same way. But Sylvie, here's what we found. We found that actually people join our program so they can be the wife, be the husband, be the business partner that they want to be. And as you said, told me, you're doing this for them anyway. And I can honestly tell you, I have never had a husband or a spouse object when you start bringing home $20,000 to $50,000 a month. Not one. And I move into that and I use whatever they told me. Now I can start weaving it in my objections. So that when I bring it back, it's specific. It's their words, their claim, their identity coming back at them and reflecting that back. Now that right there will eliminate half of them. Half of them will go, oh, you're right. I might go into give a compare and contrast, which might be, hey, let's go ahead and keep it in context. If we're in a business one, we're going to talk about business. We're talking about taking you to $20,000 a month, which is giving you $240,000 a year, but it's a whole new life. And to recoup it, to get that investment back, you only need 2 clients to break even. This is a no-brainer. That's compare and contrast. Now, I could do that. If it's health, I could say, hey, let's keep it in context. You've been struggling with this for your whole life. As you told me, you're living in a daily prison and you're wasting money on a trainer, a gym membership, supplements, and you're wasting your life because it's not working. All we're talking about is taking steps forward to get you back to your dream. Does that make sense? And I can move through that. And in terms of the husband and the wife, the spouse or the partner, the key is, what were those clues that they gave you? And I'm going to go ahead, and that is the exact reason, which is another one. That is the exact reason people do this, is for their husband or their wife. And I can honestly tell you, I've never had a husband or a wife who wasn't happy by having a better relationship, having better sex, having more money, having more freedom. So you want to come from that and you want to move into that space. And so, that's the sort of thing that you're going to do it as you're moving it. If you're in relationships, the process is still the same. You just need to look at, there is a cost, there is a penalty if you get a divorce. There is a cost, there is a penalty if you have a passionless relationship. And are they committed to fixing it? If your solution allows them to fix it by them being their best self, and if their husband, their spouse, their partner doesn't want to get on board, at least they're going to know they did everything. They can walk away knowing they did everything they could. But it takes 2 to tango. And so you want to look at it in that kind of a term. And so the key, though, to the spousal objection is look at it up in the call and start to destroy it and use that problem as the exact reason. And again, that's like I said, once we fix this problem, what's the first thing you do for your spouse? And now all of a sudden, that's the reason we're going to do it. And spousal objections, I can appreciate that. And I could go into feel, felt, found, which is a real old school but works. I understand. I can appreciate how you feel. Others have felt that way. But here's what we found. Here's the truth. And then I reiterate back, we're having this conversation because your way's not working. You know you should be a better wife, a better husband, a better friend, a better partner, and you haven't been doing your part, or whatever came out in the call. And that's why you take notes, so that you have that data, not from a place of judgment, but from a place of love, caring, concern, and curiosity. So now it's relevant. It's not some canned pitch. And it makes sense. And guys, if you do that, and the other part too, the reason most people can't handle the spouse objection is they don't prepare for it. Your how is to do it, put it on flashcards so that when you get it, you know how to deal with it. What are you going to say? What's your process? For those of you that really want to take this to a high level, we have Sales on Demand. Can't recommend it enough. We cover it a lot in Millionaire Alliance, but you have enough tools to deal with it. And so if it shows up at the end out of the blue, there are two main reasons. Either A, I didn't listen for it up front, or B, it's an excuse or a condition. An excuse is a way for them coming up because it always works beforehand. A condition means that the husband is the one that possibly he controls the credit cards. It could be somebody from an Arabic country where she literally does not get access to the money. Those type of things could be, and she didn't share it with you. That possibly could be a condition. But most of the time, if it shows up for the first time at the end of the call, it's usually an excuse and a buyer defense. So that's why I want to test for it up in the call. And if you guys do that, you're going to have more power over spousal objection than guys that do this for a living. So let's just kind of leave it at that. I've dealt with this a lot on previous calls, and you guys will go ahead and do that. You'll find that it gives you a huge, huge power. Next time you hear it, you're going to go, oh yeah, no worries, I got this. And guess what? Here's the other part. You could do everything perfect and still not get the client. At the end of the day, the client has got to be more committed to their dream than their fears. And that's up at the end of the day, that is their right. And all I can be responsible for is to do the best I can do to move them across the bridge of fear into their dream. And as long as I did what I could do, like I said at the beginning of the call, as long as I did the best I could do, I can live with that. And so I won. And if nothing else, the client would have felt a different way, and somebody that was there to do them, that will be on them. And so when you guys do that, take advantage of that. Keep going through the training calls. I've dealt with each one of the top three: the money issue, the spouse, the partner objection, the time objection. It's all through all of those recorded calls that are in the file section in the Facebook group. So it's there. Use it, listen to it, put it on flashcards, go over it again until you can call it up. And one last thing, I even put them up in front of me. Even though I wrote them, I still have my script in front of me and my objections in front of me too. And I have a sequence of 5 to 10 of them. So after the first one doesn't work, I can appreciate that. But isn't that exactly why you should be doing it? And I go into number 2. And if that doesn't work, I immediately go from that one into come to Jesus. And if come to Jesus doesn't work, I do compare and contrast. If compare and contrast doesn't work, then I keep going. And I might go 30 to 45 minutes on objections. And then if it's after 30, 45 minutes, if they're still dodging and not enrolling, I'm going to move away from them. Because I cannot be successful in helping them transform if I'm more committed to their dream than they are. I don't have time to beg people to claim their dream. And I know I have a funnel. Please write this down. I have a funnel, so I have 5 people that 1, 2 of them will commit. So you no longer have to beg clients to join your program once you have a funnel. And you always want to remember that. So that's the part on that, guys. That'll get your head around it. Use it, practice it, do the work, and watch what happens.